All right, here's an interesting game. Switch from a Benoni to a Sicilian Smith-Morra Gambit. But he went a declined variation, so I didn't even play C3. So I'm good with that. So he's stuck with the isolated queen pawn, and I'm, in prime position to blockade it with knight d4, and my development makes up for the normal situation where he normally would have his bishop on d6. That's the best place for the bishop to be attacking wise. Bishop e7, it's passive, and you don't want to be passive if you're going to set up a isolated queen pawn position for yourself. You need to have the bishop on d6. The knight needs to be on e4. You got to be aggressively posted, and these guys are not aggressively posted. These guys are all passive, so it's an inferior version for what he should be doing. I like castling myself. Bishop g4 is good, but it still gets dangerous. Also, this is game in 3 minutes, so you can't mess around. You got to play good, solid moves, and castles is a good and solid move. The computer is just in love with bishop g4, which is a great move for a computer. But a human in 3 minute game, a little, aggressive. Well, that's what you need to be. You need to be aggressive. h6 is passive. So he's playing passive moves. White is playing moves to the pieces to the squares they need to go to. Bishop f4, rook e1. The knights are out. Bishop is on b3. That white diagonal eyeballing that d5 pawn. White cannot complain about his position at all. And now, after rook e8, knight b5 is threatening to win an exchange. Bishop c5, clearly a mistake. He needed to do something different to compensate for that problem. So rook takes, and then queen takes. Pretty straightforward. Unfortunately for him, rook to b8 does not work. That's the main point in his mind for exchanging rooks or moving rook to b8 so that he gets both rooks out of the fork. But it doesn't work like that because the knight moves with impunity with a discovered attack from the bishop. He's made a number of inferior moves and then a couple of mistakes with his bishops. So, man, it's chop suey time. Chop suey, chop suey. Bishop takes rook. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. For me, I'm very happy. Now, computer like knight to e4, which is a great move. But it's more or less, about the same. It's no big deal. So that's all good. Computer thinks it should have taken with the queen. An endgame to me is that's just winning. I don't know how that's supposed to have helped him really, but well, the computer can calculate faster than people. It's the same business. I'm taking that bishop. Goodbye pawn. I don't know how the computer's sequence of moves for white is any better than what I've done. When I looked at this, the computer had this at like +7 or +8. And I'm only in exchange and 2 pawns ahead, which is about +5. So my position is about 3 points better than the material differential in the mind of the computer, and I can't argue with him on that. You'll not do well arguing with the computer. So that was forced. King h8 loses to queen e8 check, winning the knight. Just in case you didn't see it. But I would think most of you guys who are going to watch these videos are going to catch that. They're not, you guys aren't sleepers. So c3, hey, this is all about, I have a one position here. White is clearly winning with a dominating queen in the center of the board. King is completely safe. He has everything in his favor. All you have to do is not be stupid. Protect your pawns or whatever's under attack. Get that rook to the E or D1 squares to get all the file. It's game over, man. That knight can't do anything on C6. That C3 pawn move was a great move to protect the pawn, number one, but number two, it prevents knight B4 and knight D4. Black's position stinks. And this guy is over 2,000. He's a good player, obviously. Rook E1. I mean, my queen and my rook are going to bully this guy, and there's nothing he can do about it. I mean, that's what they do. Queens and rooks bully queens and knights. Whoops. Yeah, I missed this one myself. I have missed this move. Queen to B6 loses. Pause the video and see if you can figure out what it does. This is a good one. And we're back. What we have here is a checkmate. Hopefully you guys figured this out. If you didn't, there's no problem. But you have queen, F5 check. And it doesn't matter how he responds. No matter how he moves. If your king goes back, rook comes down and checkmates him. If G6, what do? That's right. Queen to F7 check. And then mate on the next move. So, computer was on this like white on rice, of course. My boo-boo. I did not see it. Hey, nobody's perfect. It's game in 3 minutes. I have a completely won game. I am not really exercising the maximum effort to finish this off because it's already over. It's just a matter of time. But I did miss an easy win. Oh, well, that's why you practice and play to get better. So queen c5, he's just trying to stay active and avoid future demolitions. I'm like, hey, everybody's safe in great positions. I'm going to put my king, on h2 when I need to. Yeah, well, good luck with that. Eat this. Now I'm threatening again. Rook to e8 check is mating. So he's got to do some whatever garbage he's going to do. It has, black has absolutely nothing. White cannot really be playing this any better. Well, outside of my queen f5 check that I missed. No one's perfect. Well, he misses the mate. That's the pressure when you're losing down the exchange and a couple of pawns. He's trying to just manufacture cheap threats. In a game in 3 minutes, you don't have a lot of time. So this is a super difficult job for black. So you can't fault him for failing. But that's why you don't want to be in this kind of position, because it's really bad almost all the time. So, that is the dealio. He resigned because, queen f8 and rook takes and you're still mated. You can't even, trade queen for rook. Not that that would mean anything, but... So, this is what happened, he indirectly... Let's go back and see. He indirectly gets a bad opening position. I didn't play super special, but his opening pawn moves seemed better than they were. They weren't actually bad. Bishop e7 is the wrong move. Historically, in the isolated queen pawn positions, white would play this with bishop to d3, and black should play it with bishop to d6, although going to c5 for black is probably one of the other good positions for the bishop. But bishop d6 is normally what you would see from black if he has an isolated queen pawn. And, you know, most people don't practice those positions, and he probably didn't. You know, I don't practice them myself either, but I've read about them. And that's that's kind of the main difference. You read about stuff that you don't even do, so that when it comes up in this game, that, you know, it's an isolated queen pawn position. And I've read about and studied isolated queen pawn positions, and when you study those, you know what the side with the isolated pawn is supposed to do, and also what the side opposing the isolated pawn is supposed to do. So I knew what to do better than he did. It's not a question of, well, you're not a good player or he's not a good player. This was the question of who's done the homework. And clearly, I've done more homework in isolated queen pawn positions than this guy, because he played bishop e7, which is not the right move. It is a safe move, you know, against, say, rook checks or what have you. So it's not bad. It's just that, you know, it's just not where it needs to be. Maybe that is a smart move, bishop e7, castle, and then bishop d6, but he never did that. So that's the thing. You know, and when he didn't get there, I knew bishop f4 is a prime square for the dark squared bishop in this type of position, if I can get it, and I did. So he was outplayed in the latter opening stages by just, I didn't play super moves, but what I played was the stuff that you're supposed to try to play in this type of position. That's the deal. I did a better job of handling my side than he did of handling his, and you see what happens is that the momentum, you know, was white's momentum just kept growing and was really annoying. You know, if he had played, I've been looking in the game, if he played bishop g4, I was planning to play f3. And then just, you know, move king to the corner and whoop-de-doo. I'm not really worried about it. You know, queen d3, that knight b4 looks like a pain to me. So I don't want to do queen d3. And then, of course, after rook e8, I knew that I had been eyeballing knight to b5. So I knew it was time to jump in. So this is you know, this is just a game where an inferior setup for black was compounded by an inferior bishop to c5. He didn't play it when the computer thought it was a good move, and when he did play it, the computer thought it was a bad move. So, you know, sometimes it just happens. You know, and same thing there. Rook is a bad move. You know, just the whole thing, when this happens to you in a game, and it happens to everybody eventually, maybe not today, you see it just goes bad quickly. You know, we've all played players. I mean, I played good players. I've had this kind of thing happen to me, and it's like, okay, it sucks. So 20 years ago or 25 years ago is when this would have happened for me, or maybe even slightly longer than that. Because I've played a lot of tournaments, and I've played a lot of good players. Lost to a lot of good players, and I beat a lot of good players. Because, you know, I was playing at the biggest chess club in Houston, and man, there was some good freaking players over there. I'm telling you, these guys could play some chess. So, you know, you when you're stuck with the wolves, you know, you become strong like the wolf, or you become eaten by the wolf. Sometimes you get, you know, in my case, a little bit of both. So this is the kind of thing, this is how I get to this. So this all worked out well for me because it was just a case of homework. When you do your homework, you're going to win games just because you did the homework that, you know, you need to do. There are positions you got to check out and learn the basics. You know, I didn't spend like, you know, months on it, but, you know, I read the strategy books. So, and I'm going to make a video later on that will show you a bunch of the books you should look at if you have a chance. That will help you out a lot. So, hopefully this really helped you out with the strategy of this isolated queen pawn game and, you know, how it can go. And you guys know what to do. Talk to you later.